I figured you were safe. Let us know when you're in countdown mode.
We're live on YouTube,
Okay,
and then we are live right now.
fantastic. Thank you, Christina. Welcome, everybody, to the City Council meeting of June 23rd, 2020. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Prior to roll call, the city attorney would like to make an announcement to the council regarding the teleconferencing of this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As you all know, the governor issued Executive Order N-25-20 to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 and allow public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference. The procedures adopted for this meeting meet or exceed the standards set forth in the governor's orders. And now, Madam Clerk, I would ask you to please conduct roll call and then ask the mayor to recognize me afterward in order to confirm a couple of matters for the record.
Councilmember Hudson,
Here.
Councilmember Alone,
Here.
Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Vice Mayor Zafar,
Here.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Here, Martin, you're back at the plate.
Thank you. I would now like to verify that all members of the council, one, can hear me well, two, have been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call, and three, that each of you believes, based on facial or voice recognition or otherwise, that all persons representing themselves to be council members are in fact council members. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thumbs up. With that confirmation, I'll turn it back over to the mayor with the reminder that all votes taken during this meeting must be done by roll call.
Thank you, Martin. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance. We'll ask Councilman Hudson to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. Well done. Madam Clerk.
Item 3, announcements. 3.1, changes and additions to the agenda. There are none this evening. Item 3.2, if you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an agenda item, please click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when the public comment is being taken. You will then be unmuted and you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak during that time. Item 3.3, boards, committee, and commission meetings. A complete list of any upcoming meetings can be found on the city's website, and you can subscribe to those pages for instant notification. Item 4, public comment.
Public comment are for items for the public to comment on that are not on the agenda. If you wish to speak, let Christina know. We'll go with the verbal comments first, and if there's any written comments, we'll follow that with those. Has anybody indicated they would like to talk at public comment?
It does not appear so. So again, if anyone would like to request to speak under public comment, please use the raise your hand button at this time.
Okay, seeing none, we will close the public comment, but.
Whoa, wait a minute. There's a written public comment.
No,
I mean, we all receive.
Dave, settle
Yeah.
down. We're closing the verbal written comment. We're now going to do the written public comment. Thank you, sir.
So I've received three written public comment, and the first public comment is from Helen. Young children with boxes of fruit spotted squatting at corner of Crow Canyon in a small street that turns into a residential subdivision near Santa Ramon Country Club. Yesterday was a male grown up with a peddler cart at the same corner. Organized groups are using young children and non-SR Santa Ramon citizens to disrupt our city order and local economy. I'm afraid this is a sister act to challenge our police in this season of defunding police. As a municipality, how do we put up with this without risking our PD? Please note there are bystanders, not customers, around with phones ready to take videos of any mishap. Please, we need to open our government. Zooming around makes our government vulnerable for technology manipulation. The next comment is from Jim Blickenstaff. After failing to get any positive response from city staff or the planning commission, I'd like to request directly to the city council that Santa Ramon extend the comment period for the CWMP DER from the bare minimum of 45 days to at least 60 days and preferably 75 days. CEQA law does not block the lead jurisdiction from increasing the 45-day minimum time allowed, only from decreasing it. The need is especially true in light of an already limited public and expert participation resulting from a pandemic crisis and a new world reality that demands a complete, comprehensive environmental review reflecting the dynamic and fundamental long-term pandemic-related changes in governing social economical models. Minimizing the time allowed for CEQA comments and in public/local input on complicated negative impact issues at this critical time in our city's history is exactly the wrong way to go. It would demonstrate the city is not prioritizing inclusion of their citizens in one of the most important planning and decision-making processes they will face. The purpose of the request is simply to allow for a better, smarter, more responsive, and overall less impacting outcome for the city, but especially for the city residents. Thank you for taking the time for a thoughtful consideration of this request. The third comment is from Joyce Carr. I'm speaking tonight on the City Walk project. I have been learning about this project at the Planning Commission meetings. I am concerned about traffic problems that will increase in this area. The increase of residents and office workers will greatly congest the already congested Bishop Branch and Highway 680. There is no assurance that people buying homes in the City Walk project will work in Bishop Branch. There is mention of adding/widening lanes in Bishop Branch. Of special concern is expansion of the intersection at Norris Canyon Road and Santa Ramon Valley Boulevard. Norris Canyon Road west of Santa Ramon Valley Boulevard is residential. Children use this part of Norris Canyon Road to walk to and from school. It is also a popular street for people to take walks with their families and pets. I am concerned that the expansion of intersections at Norris Canyon Road and Santa Ramon Valley Boulevard will induce pressure to expand Norris Canyon Road west of 680. This would be severely detrimental to the residents and their homes along that road. Thank you for considering my concerns on this issue. And that was the last public comment.
Great, thank you so much. We'll close the written comment part. Madam Clerk, now, as a note to those folks who made comments and for the public, because of the Brown Act, we're not allowed to respond to people who make comments during public comment because those items were not agendized. So we're not ignoring them. We just cannot respond to them in kind this evening. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 5, consent calendar.
Items on the consent calendar are deemed routine in nature, but anybody from staff, from the audience, or from a councilman can ask for an item to be pulled for discussion. Usually start with the motion.
I'll move 5.1 through 5.7.
I can second.
Not seeing any further discussion or items to be pulled. Madam Clerk.
A roll call vote. Councilmember Hudson.
Aye.
Councilmember Alone. Can you repeat that?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Zafar,
Yes.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Item 6, special presentations. Recognition of Heidi Keniston Lee for her service as a Traffic's Administrative Coordinator. Presentation by Lisa Bobadilla, Transportation Division Manager.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mayor Clarkson, members of the City Council, city staff, city manager, and Santa Ramon community. I'm very happy to be here this evening to recognize and acknowledge a valuable member of our community and a member of the Public Works Department Transportation Division team. As you all know, Traffics is a joint powers authority responsible for traffic congestion relief program funded by Measure J. Traffics operates 24 school buses to 11 school sites throughout the Santa Ramon Valley. Members of the JPA include the City of Santa Ramon, the Town of Danville, Contra Costa County, and the Santa Ramon Valley Unified School District. It is a 7-member board. Vice Mayor Savar and Councilmember Hudson represent the city on the Traffics Board of Directors. In 2018, Traffics took a new path. We actually hired a full-time limited-term employee through the city reimbursed by Measure J. Following an oral board, Heidi Keniston Lee was hired and began her time with Traffics July of 2018. And what can I say? For those of you who know Heidi, she is a go-getter. We knew she would be a force to reckon with, and she has been a force. A sample of some of her accomplishments include Heidi was responsible for the launch of a new website for Traffics. The prior website had been in place for 10 years. We launched a new website under Heidi's direction. Heidi created a monthly Ambassador newsletter for the Traffics community. She created a driver recognition program where we actually gave out service pins to Traffics drivers. The drivers within Traffics bid on Traffics routes prior to any other routes within the service district or within the first student service district. Heidi created a 10-year anniversary marketing campaign for Traffics. And an anti-bullying campaign for students on buses. She created a training module for future Traffics admin coordinators. She significantly improved the relationship with First Student, who is our school bus service provider. And she enhanced the relationship with our Citizen Advisory Committee. There are 11 members of the Citizen Advisory Committee. Those members represent all of the school sites and the county, the city, and the community at large. In fact, I got several emails from CAC members who are sad to see Heidi go, acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that she did, and they gave her a going away gift at the May CAC meeting. So we are sad to see her leave. We knew this day was coming. Heidi committed to 2 years to oversee the program, and again, she did a phenomenal job. We are grateful for her dedication to the program, the Traffics community, and more importantly, to the students who ride the Traffics buses. Safety was always a priority in all the work that Heidi did for Traffics. On a personal note, I just want to thank Heidi. She's an amazing, creative, thoughtful, energetic individual. And my entire time at my career here at the city, it's an honor to have had the opportunity to work with Heidi the last 2 years. So on behalf of the Traffics Technical Advisory Committee members, we have a certificate of appreciation. It is signed by the Traffics members. We will hand that to Heidi on her last day with Traffics, which is June 30th. And then we also have a City of San Ramon City Council recognizing and thanking Heidi Keniston Lee for her service as the Traffics Administrative Coordinator from 2018 to 2020, dated June 23rd, 2020, and it will be signed by Mayor Bill Clarkson. So with that, I'd like to thank Heidi. I see her via Zoom. Hello, Heidi, good evening. And once again, on behalf of Traffics, the Board of Directors, the Technical Advisory Committee members, we thank you for the tremendous amount of work that you've done. And we know that, there's a lot on the horizon for you, and we're excited for all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Heidi, it is great to have you here. I'm going to let you go ahead and make any comments you want to, and then I'm going to reserve the rest of the time for the rest of us.
Okay, under 3 minutes.
Take it anytime you want.
Thank you, Lisa. I am truly touched by what you had to say. It has been a wonderful experience, and I've been so pleased to work with all of the leaders of this organization, whether the Board of Directors or the Technical Advisory Committee members. We are blessed at Traffics to have a group of leaders who are truly dedicated to the goal of reducing traffic congestion in the San Ramon Valley. And what's especially nice about working with this group of professionals is that there's a spirit of cooperativeness. And I love that. They all have the same goal. They have different styles. They work for different agencies, but they all come together to cooperate to get the job done. And I really appreciate that. And I'm so especially proud of, and I'm grateful for the City of San Ramon's support of the Traffics program, and specifically housing the administrative function. San Ramon stepped up to the plate. They knew it was going to be good for the program. And in fact, it worked really well. And so it just, fostered and instilled additional pride that I already have for the city that I live in and work in. So I really have loved that. I did want to extend special thank yous to my manager and the transportation division manager, Lisa Bobadilla. She is awesome. I say I'm leaving, so I have no reason to say that other than it's very much true. Her support, her knowledge, historical knowledge of the program, her insights into joint powers authorities just has been a lot to learn from and a lot to be guided by. So I appreciate that. And also Maria Ferner, who I had the joy of working with within her team structure. She is awesome as well as Public Works Director. So I want to thank her for her support as well. And then I just want to express the fact that Megan Wilkerson is the new administrative coordinator for Traffics. I've had an opportunity to train her for a couple of months now, and I think you will really enjoy working with her. She's enthusiastic, she takes initiative, has a strong background in marketing and project management. And I think that she will be a real asset to the program. We're in some crazy times right now. We don't know exactly what bus service will morph into, but I know that with, the administrative folks, with City of San Ramon housing the administrative function, and with our leadership teams, I know that we'll rise to the occasion and make it work as best we can. But thank you all for your support. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Heidi. I have some comments, but I will defer them after the other council members. Any hands? Okay, Scott, take the lead.
Thank you so much. I was disappointed when you left the Parks Commission, but I was thrilled when you picked up Traffics. You've done a fabulous job there with Traffics. I'm sorry we can't do this in person where we get to give you a big hug and have our picture taken with you, but thank you so much for your couple of years of service to Traffics, multiple years of service to the city. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Sabina.
Heidi, I just want to thank you. I have the privilege of working with you on the board, and you've done such an excellent job of managing, various personalities, really keeping everything on track and making sure, we were well informed, well educated about everything that came on the agenda. Everything was always so well organized. I always felt like I was prepared with the way you organized really that entire board, with bringing in some new technology, bringing in some new ways of doing things, and obviously your big accomplishment with rolling out the new website, automating the whole process, and now moving into the mobile part of it. So really appreciate, in the last couple of years, all the things you've been able to achieve have been phenomenal. And again, really appreciate, as a person, I haven't known you and you're an amazing person, but really as a professional, you've been, I'm very proud of to be working with you. So thank you so much.
Dave.
Yeah, Heidi, I'd like to say I'll be brief, but that doesn't seem to mean anything with elected officials. We just go on. Simply stated, and I pretty much speak for all the board members, if we were to write the description of what we wanted to run Traffics, we just say, be like Heidi. I mean, you just absolutely nailed this job. I'm sorry to see you go. And I think your replacement's got some big shoes to fill. Great job, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Phil.
I just, a couple of things. I thought you were overqualified from the jump, Heidi, so I was really thrilled that you took the jump. But also just something Lisa mentioned, I always felt that the relationship was not good between First Student, the bus company, and frankly, the board, and particular individuals or whatever. And the fact that you really helped to fix that was a real professional accomplishment about my book. So thanks very much.
And Heidi, you are truly a Renaissance woman. You made huge contributions at our education establishment here in the Valley. You were on our Parks Board and made large contributions for a number of years in the Parks Community Services. You co-chaired with Gary, of course, our 150th celebration, celebrating our sister's history. And then, as Phil said, you tackled a job that I think is one of the toughest jobs we have anywhere in the Valley by any employee, which is buses and children and parents who can sometimes be having lots of feedback for you. And so I just want to share with you that how much we appreciate you carrying that burden and that load, especially in these last 3 to 5 months have been pretty tough to adapt to. So thank you, Heidi, and we look forward to getting back engaged, I hope.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. I assume Christina's gonna bump me off now, right?
Do we get a
Not
picture
personal.
yet?
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 7, deferred consent items, we have none. Item 8, adoption of ordinances, we don't have any this evening. Item 9, city council appointments, we also have none this evening. Item 10, approval of minutes. Before you are the minutes from the regular meeting on June 9th and the special meeting on June 17th for your approval or amendment.
Is there a motion?
I can move to approve the minutes
Second.
from June 9th and June 17th.
I got a
Second.
second out of Mr. Hudson. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Councilmember Hudson,
Aye.
Councilmember Alone,
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safar,
Yes.
and Mayor Clarkson.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Item 11, unfinished business, we have none. Item 12, new business. 12.1, Transportation Advisory Committee Annual Report. Introduction by Lisa Bobadilla, Transportation Division Manager. Presentation by Billy Hurley, Chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Well, good evening again, members of the City Council, City Manager, San Ramon Community. The item before you this evening is the Transportation Advisory Committee, or TAC, Annual Report. I'm pleased to introduce to you this evening Mr. Bill Hurley. Mr. Hurley, by the way, is also the city's representative on the Contra Costa Transportation Authority Citizen Advisory Committee. I want to thank him for his time on the CAC and also thank him for his dedication to the TAC. He's engaged, he stays informed of local and regional transportation issues. And on behalf of the staff, it's a pleasure to work with Mr. Hurley. So with that, I will turn it over to him to provide the annual report. Thank you and good evening, Bill.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. Mayor Clarkson, council members, fellow residents and citizens of San Ramon, good evening. Like Ali said, Billy Hurley, current chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. Next slide. Transportation Advisory Committee is comprised of 7 members, 6 residents of the city of San Ramon, appointed by the City Council, and 1 representative of the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce. We also have liaisons from City Council, the Planning Commission, Senior Advisory Committee, and Teen Council, which keep us informed and bring us information from their worlds. As Lisa said, I am the Citizens Advisory Committee representative at the county level, and we also have a representative at County Connect Citizens Advisory Committee. And our meetings are held on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at 2401 Crow Canyon Road in the conference room. Next slide. Transportation Advisory Committee, our mandate is to receive reports, review information, and give input on several programs and many traffic related issues around the city. Go over some of those in detail here. First, the Residential Traffic Calming Program. This program enables the residents of San Ramon to voice their concerns and any traffic issues that they see to the city staff. It's focusing on cut through traffic through residential areas, speeding, visibility issues, signage, parking, and more. This program lays out the policies and procedures the staff uses to review these reports and concerns by the residents. And part of that is bringing those to the committee where we review and give feedback and suggestions, which some are often taken by the staff and adjusted. Next slide. Here you can see in 2019, there were 67 total requests to the residential traffic calming program. You can see the higher numbers in the speeding, school site circulation issues or the safe routes to school, and parking requests are among the higher number that we received. Next slide. The Safe Routes to School programs, the next program, we have a subcommittee with Robert DuPont and Atul Patel. Each February through April timeframe, the staff observes each school site. What they're looking for is the crosswalks, crossing guards, infrastructure, travel patterns, how parents are picking up and dropping off their children, and the student and parent behaviors. From these observations, routes and maps are determined by the staff. An annual report is then presented to the council for review and approval. And once that is approved, it is forwarded to the school district so that they may consider the report and the recommendations. Some of the things in 2019 that came out of the approved observations, implemented a new one-way circulation at one school site, installed some red curbs, installed some no parking and no stopping signs, relocated bike routes and signage, worked with the school district to relocate some planter boxes that were obstructing view, refreshing some crosswalks that have been faded and signage, and implementing selective enforcement for parking, speeding, things of that sort at the school sites. Next program, the San Ramon Bicycle Master Plan Development. We have a subcommittee for that. It was Mark Bollock and Al Pacheco. The plan was adopted by the City Council in April of 2018 and has since been begun to be implemented. To date, 13 miles of paved and repaved or restriped bike lanes, as you can see on the photos. And there's 38,600 square feet of green conflict zones installed. The TAC receives regular reports and oversight of the Bicycle Master Plan. One of the big things that come out is the Bike to Work Day, which there was a station, energization station set up on Iron Horse Trail, which had 565 participants stop. And we received a TVA grant the city has for $36,300 for implementation of the bicycle conflict zones on San Ramon Valley Boulevard. Another program with the TAC is involved in is the Transit Shelter Program. There's a few subcommittee members there. The city secured a $100,000 grant to purchase and install transit shelters to enhance the public transit use in the city. The policy committee selected two transit shelter styles in April of 2018, and 4 shelters have been installed along the Doherty Valley in September of 2019. Another program is the San Ramon Valley Street Smarts Traffic Safety Educational Program. It's an outreach program to the schools in the San Ramon Valley. Its focus is community traffic safety awareness for bicycle, pedestrian, vehicle traffic safety, conducting assemblies and rodeos. Each of the 22 elementary and 6 middle schools have had safety assemblies. There have been, on a rotational basis, there's bike rodeos, and there were 11 conducted in 2019. California Highway Patrol had 12 presentations at the San Ramon Valley High Schools, and there is planning underway for an adult bicycle safety class in 2020, which a grant was submitted for $5,700. The primary public transit in San Ramon is County Connection, which services the center part of the Contra Costa County from north to south. Each jurisdiction, we have members, Councilman Dave Hudson represents, and as long as Wayne Mortensen on the advisory committee. The TAC also receives regular reports from County Connection, and one of the recent changes was the elimination of Route 36 due to low ridership, low demand, which in turn Route 35 expanded slightly to try to cover some of that Route 36 elimination. One of the programs that came out of that elimination is the on-demand transit service. Next slide, please. November 1st, 2019, there was a soft launch of the Go San Ramon pilot program with the target of the senior center at Valley Vista Senior Housing, which was highly impacted by the elimination of Route 36. On March 1st, 2020, it was fully implementing Go San Ramon throughout to provide services, on-demand services throughout San Ramon market. On the next slide, you can see the marketing materials for Go San Ramon. It's a program where riders, qualified riders, can get a small subsidy through Uber or Lyft when they use the program. Next slide. Obviously, 2020 has been impacted by COVID-19, which has affected the ridership of Go San Ramon and many of the other programs. But throughout this year, we are continuing to receive updates on the Innovate 680. We're reviewing the on-demand transit service program, looking at the adult bicycle education program, receiving updates on the design and installation of the rectangular rapid flashing beacon systems. We receive updates and provided input on the Contra Costa Iron Horse Trail Active Transit Corridor Study. Receive updates and provide input on the Contra Costa Accessible Transportation Services Study. Updates from Heidi on traffics. And updates to transit services due to COVID-19. Our next CAC meeting is July 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. in the conference room. No, it's via teleconference, sorry. And pending any questions, that's what I have tonight.
You're muted, Bill.
I'm unmuted now. Billy, thank you so much for all the presentations. I'll wait for my comments to the end. Anybody have Sabina?
Yeah, thank you so much, Billy, for serving on and heading it up. So appreciate it and appreciate your service to the city. So things have changed significantly for transportation this year. You're probably seeing a lot more people biking. I mean, just this is more perception, but I think if you go pick up a bike, they're back ordered till October now. Yeah. So I haven't been able to buy a bike yet. But how are those discussions going in terms of the transportation committee? What are you guys kind of looking at and thinking about?
Well, as the transportation committee, we were obviously shut down for a while, and I probably have a little more insight of that from the Contra Costa Citizens Advisory Committee. So our last meeting was a lot of discussion on the revenue issues, the reduced budget. But we talked about that last week at the TAC and are kind of digesting that, the impact on the on-demand transit system, obviously, and the big questions in the air about funding for bike infrastructure, because I bike to work every day to Dublin, so I know what you mean. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more people on the trail. I see it every day, and the questions in the air with East Bay Park controlling Iron Horse and how that's going to go forward to if that demand continues on the trail. So more to follow.
And I think one other thing we've talked about, I was just going to follow up with that. I see, we're doing a lot with the schools and walking to the schools. I would love to see, the committee think about something around walking in our shopping centers as well, because I mean, certainly I'm sure those studies are going on and things, but now that we've started walking more, you kind of feel, how do you cross over from, for example, Pete's to Whole Foods and things like that. So how do we make, walking easier within our shopping malls as well? So something, thought I'd give some feedback. I know we've talked about it before. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dave,
Yeah, the projections through Measure J were going to be a 243% increase in bike traffic. And to me, that doesn't even touch on what's coming with the electric bike, even hydrogen bikes. So I don't know exactly what you have in mind for the adult education on this, but I really hope it's extensive, because nothing drives me crazier than driving 101 and I'm screaming, slower traffic, move right. So whatever it takes, because it's going to be far more than you see right now. When we opened up the Iron Horse Trail originally to walking, when it went to pavement, the traffic doubled just when we laid down the base, and then doubled again when we finished the overpayment or overpavement. Busing is still trying to figure out what we're going to do. Every other row, every other seat, we're kind of watching the airlines, see where it goes. The large APTA conference that we hold every 3 years, this year was to be in Anaheim in October, just got canceled until March 14th of next year. I mean, nobody knows where this thing's going. So to me, as fast as you can get the information and disseminate it, there's your real value. And get a bike.
Scott.
Well, thank you very much for leading this very important committee. You guys do a lot of work. You do have a lot of work. I'm looking forward to the update of the residential traffic calming guidebook. As you go through that, it does need an update. And thank you very much for all the subcommittee work you do on Safe Routes to School and all the other transit oriented things you guys do. It really is valuable to have a group that's dedicated to those transit issues. I'm the representative on the Innovate 680 from the electeds, and we had our first meeting, a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago. And so I'll be looking forward to how that progresses. I'll be working with Lisa to make sure you guys get updates if I'm not able to attend your meeting to provide that.
Scott, you might want to check your audio or speak closer, because at least for me, it was a little hard to hear. Is that the same with the others?
Yes.
Why'd you tell him?
Well, I know Phil wasn't listening, was he?
Billy, anybody paying attention to your work plan and what you've done this last year, it's pretty phenomenal stuff. And others have spoken about it. I just want to share with you that if a resident wants to get really involved in San Ramon, this is a great way to get involved and to learn a lot about the important moving parts. And so through you, could you thank everybody on your committee who got involved and the part they've played? You're making this a better place to live. Thank you, sir.
Sure will. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Martin, do we want to accept the report, receive the report and vote on that?
You already have, and you don't need to vote on it.
You have it.
Thank you.
Mr.
Madam
Mayor,
Clerk.
we do
Yes.
have public comment on this item.
Okay, let's do it.
We have one resident that has their hand raised, and I've also received written comment on it.
Thank you.
So the first speaker is Luz Gomez.
Good evening, everyone. This is Luz Gomez, long-term resident of San Ramon, and also am the Building Healthy Communities Manager for Contra Costa County Public Health. And I just really want to express a gratitude for all the work that you're doing on transportation and the fact that San Ramon is doing so much with Safe Routes to School. I manage the Safe Routes to School program for the county, and San Ramon is definitely a beacon that we look toward to try to emulate in other parts. And second comment has to do with a question. I recently received an invitation to participate in a survey from WCTAC having to do with whether or not people's habits are changing more long-term with telecommuting given COVID. And I'm curious whether you guys will be doing a similar survey countywide or more locally. I have a feeling that some of the commuting behavior will be changed more permanently after COVID. So it'd be interesting to see if there will be a survey. And those are my comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like that was the only request to speak, and then I have a written comment that I'll read right now.
Thank you.
This comment is received from Helen. Right now, our traffic lights immediately change for merging cars making right turns as soon as they stop, forcing main traffic flow cars on Bollinger Canyon, having to make emergency brake with only a couple seconds response at 50 miles an hour without running yellow light. This needs to be rectified as it slows everyone down and creates chaos. There needs to be more time for main traffic flow to brake besides 2 seconds time. Also, do we have San Ramon biker traffic codes? How do they signal directions to motorists and pedestrians biking opposite traffic flow? Okay. And that was the only written comment I received.
Great. Thank you, Christina. Next item.
Item 12.2, Teen Council Annual Report. Introduction by Becky Adams, Program Manager. Presentation by Teen Council Chairperson, Benila Goganini.
Hi, Becky.
Hi there. Good evening, Mayor Clarkson and fellow city council members. It's my pleasure to be here this evening in support of the Teen Council as they provide their annual report. As with the rest of the community, the last few months have been quite a challenge, and I'm happy to say that the Teen Council has definitely risen to that challenge. They have accomplished many great things through this last year, and we're very proud of them for that. And with that, I would like to go ahead and introduce Benila Goganini, who will be providing the annual report this evening.
Thank you, Becky. So I'm just going to share my screen. It says that it's disabled.
Jocelyn, can you share the, Jocelyn's going to share the Teen Council.
Oh, okay, that's no problem. Okay. Good evening, council members. I'm very excited to be presenting the Teen Council 2019 to 2020 annual report. Next slide. So first I'll go over the history and the background of the Teen Council. So the Teen Council was founded in 1994 and consists of 19 high school students who are extremely passionate about community service as well as the city government. Currently, the Teen Council has representation from Dougherty Valley High School, California High School, as well as the Quarry Lane School. And Teen Council members work to address teen needs and issues, and they also serve as liaisons to other city committees. Next slide. So next is our subcommittees. So first off, we have our ambassador program, and it's one of our main subcommittees, and it's led by the vice chair, who is Amrita, as well as our secretary, Sahiti. So the background to the ambassador program is that it is an extension of the Teen Council, and it's basically where both middle schoolers as well as high schoolers who are passionate about community service can participate in the program. So this year we received a total of 29 applications, and from that we selected 16 ambassadors. And the ambassadors represented different schools, including California High School, Dougherty Valley High School, Gale Ranch Middle School, Iron Horse Middle School, the Quarry Lane School, as well as the Windermere Ranch Middle School. So in the past, we mainly used the ambassador program as a way to advertise different Teen Council programs as well as events. But this year we actually modified the ambassador program. And instead we split all of the ambassadors into smaller groups. And each group actually pitched a project idea to the Teen Council that they would like us to organize. And we thought that this model was overall more productive, but unfortunately their participation in the Teen Council got cut short due to COVID-19. Next slide. Next is our Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award Subcommittee, also known as OTCA. And this subcommittee is led by Sophie Cooper. So this year we held the OTCA award as usual, but unfortunately we received no applications in the fall. And we think that this is mainly due to the fact that many organizations in San Ramon are not led by a single individual, but rather a group of people. So our OTCA subcommittee actually revamped the award for the springtime, and they created an Outstanding Teen Citizenship Group Award, which now allows both organizations and high school clubs to apply for the award if they've made an impact in the city. And we actually received a whopping 11 group award applications, and the Teen Council will be recognizing the Performing Hearts organization, which is based out of California High School. and they actually brought music into the lives of San Ramon senior citizens as well as youth. Next is one of our main events that we had this year, and the main motto for this was "See the bigger picture for a brighter future." And it's also known as our Adaptive Event Collaboration, where we partnered with Patty Hoyt as well as the Alcohol, Drug Abuse, and Prevention team. And this was basically a way to make resources regarding substance abuse as well as mental health and stress more accessible to the teen population as well as parents. And as a part of the event, we actually featured a display of a teenager's bedroom, and it's filled with multiple warning signs as well as objects hidden in plain sight. And one example of this is a sunscreen bottle, which can actually carry alcohol. In addition to this, we actually had a panel with several different people, including Andy Lee from the Community College District Board, as well as 2 discovery counseling therapists and a San Ramon City School Resource Officer, Hussein, to talk more about the issues around mental health as well as stress. So this year I actually took the initiative to start the Community College Subcommittee project. And this is mainly to address the stigma around community college, as well as to make resources more accessible to families. So this subcommittee is led by Amrita, and they actually worked with the ADAPT subcommittee this year to promote enrollment in community college. And in addition to that, they actually did a lot of research around the stigma of community college and its effect and the effect of the stigma on teen stress. And they also worked on brainstorming different ideas to make, they also brainstormed different ideas to increase the access around community college more accessible to high school students as well as parents. Next up, we have our video project. And so mainly our video project is actually led by Himaja, and it's basically to highlight various events and activities that teens in San Ramon can participate in. And it's actually just because it's a main reason that we actually have this is because teens are always talking about how there's nothing to do in San Ramon. But a larger goal of the video project subcommittee is actually to mitigate teen stress by showing off places that teens can hang out. And so we actually completed a variety of different video projects this year. The first was the Trails and Sunset Spots video project. And this was mainly to highlight the city's Easy to Hike app, as well as the Run for Education, the Teen Rock Band Showcase, and a holiday and winter themed video project. Next up, we have our poetry contest, which was led by Manal. And we actually held the poetry contest both in the spring and the fall. And our spring contest was actually themed around Memorial Day, but we didn't get any applications, and we think that this is mainly due to COVID-19. But we noticed that participation was actually low all year, and so we thought that the poetry contest should be reevaluated in the next term. So instead, our poetry contest actually shifted their focus during COVID-19 to focus on different activities that are related to literature that teens can participate in at home. Next up, we have our Youth Workshop Subcommittee, which is led by Danielle Lee. And this year, the subcommittee planned a workshop focused around self-confidence, which was going to be presented at the She's All That Expo, but sadly that also got canceled due to COVID-19. And some of the activities that were planned included stress-reducing coloring sheets, origami, Post-it notes of encouragement, as well as a presentation with methods to ease stress. Last but not least, we have our Senior Tech Days. And this year the Senior Tech Days subcommittee is actually led by Risha. And the Senior Tech Days are actually a teen council tradition where teen council members help senior citizens with their technology questions. And this year we actually hosted 4 Senior Tech Days, and we even expanded our Senior Tech Days to a new location, which is the Doherty Station Community Center. And in addition to that, we also worked with the city to promote their new rideshare program, and the subcommittee also improved and expanded their advertising. So aside from our subcommittees, the Teen Council is also actively engaged in the community. So first up is our volunteering. So one of the main events that the Teen Council volunteered at this year was a partnership with the Brighter Day organization to host a Teen Rock Band Showcase. And the showcase is mainly to focus on easing teen stress. And a member of the Danville Teen Council and I actually emceed the Teen Rock Band Showcase, and several teen council members actually helped with tickets and as well as raffles and ballots. We also participated in a number of other fun events. First, the Teen Council participated at the Teen Job Fair, and the Teen Council actually helped set up the Teen Job Fair, and members also participated in several of the presentations, mock interviews, and we also assisted with setting up. Next is our YAC meeting. Next is our YAC meeting, and this year the Teen Council actually hosted the Joint Youth Advisory Council meeting. And this is basically a meeting between the youth councils of San Ramon, Dublin, and Danville. And it's a super fun event where all the teen councils get to share how they operate, as well as the different programs and events that they have. And last is Unity Day. And we actually presented the Unity Day proclamation to the City Council in October. And teen council members wore orange to show support for teens in San Ramon who have been bullied. Next is their proposed teen council goals. So first is research and execute partnerships with local organizations, businesses, and communities to promote teen wellness and recreation, such as a Teen Rock Band Showcase with the Brighter Day organization. Number 2 is to continue hosting senior tech days and work to increase attendance by expanding promotional campaigns. Number 3 is to continue organizing workshops targeted at youth conferences, such as She's All That, and look into expanding into additional youth groups, such as Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and other organizations. Number 4 is to continue the Teen Council Ambassador Program, as well as increase the involvement of the ambassadors at the Teen Council meetings and the subcommittee meetings. Subpoint A was to appoint ambassadors earlier in the Teen Council year. And this is mainly because we normally appoint the Teen Council ambassadors in the November-December timeframe. However, we thought that this cut down their participation in the Teen Council greatly. So if we were to appoint them earlier in the year, such as September, we thought that this would increase their involvement with the Teen Council. And subpoint B was to aim to facilitate the creation of a community service project for the City of San Ramon with Teen Council members and ambassadors. Number 5 is to continue the individual and group outstanding teen citizenship awards and seek partnerships with local organizations. And last is number 6, which is to expand the video project by encouraging subcommittees to film videos highlighting the San Ramon City and work closely with the City of San Ramon for video ideas as well as distribution. And next, we would just like to recognize our Teen Council seniors. And unlike usual, we only have 2 this year, but I will be attending UC Berkeley and Manal will be attending NYU this year. And yeah, so I just really wanted to thank all of you guys for the opportunity that I've been given over the past 3 years. And it's honestly been one of the most enriching experiences that I've ever had. And I really wanted to thank the city, especially for giving the opportunity for teens in San Ramon to be engaged with the city, as well as to be able to give back to the city. And I really wanted to say that it's been such an honor to serve as the chair of the Teen Council, as well as the student commissioner for the Parks and Community Services. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm open to answer any questions or comments that you guys have.
Thank you so much. I've heard wonderful things about your leadership. And so we're just delighted to see you present to us tonight. I'll look to any council members who have any comments.
I thought Phil was going to go ballistic when that ice skating rink came up.
Yeah, that was. I did write that down. How deeply disappointed I was by the USC thing. But yeah, as a Cal freshman, you'll soon appreciate why. I just want to thank you. And your parents must be very proud that you're going to Cal. So congratulations on that. And it's nice to actually see somebody from the private schools participating as well in all this. So overall, thanks very much. And best of luck to you and your colleagues. Are the ambassadors appointed for 1 year?
Yeah, it's only a 1-year term.
Just a thought, maybe if you did it for a 2-year time frame, they might get more traction.
Yeah, that's definitely good feedback. I'll tell that to the next chair as well.
Thanks. Thank you.
Scott. You're on mute, Scott.
There we go. I'm sorry. Well, you guys really had a busy year, and you managed to accomplish so much in spite of the pandemic and all. And you must be very, very proud of what you accomplished this year. And congratulations on being accepted to Berkeley. I know you did fantastic. Well done.
Thank you so much.
You know, there's so much you do, but the one thing I'd like to focus on is your tech days with the seniors. You do lots of different stuff, but I really want to talk about that one just briefly. And the fact that there are a lot of seniors who have their stuff, their phones and their iPads, and they want to communicate with their grandchildren who live somewhere else. And the work you guys do to help some of those seniors be able to use comfortably, whether it's Zoom now or before it was FaceTime, how to do their email. It means a lot to them because they're sometimes embarrassed and their fellow seniors don't really get it either. So you guys coming in, watching you guys do that with them is really a wonderful experience to watch. And I want to thank you in particular for all the stuff, but that one in particular.
Thank you.
And I would encourage perhaps to put the age limit at over 50 in terms of.
Sabina.
Well, Vanilla, I really wanted to thank you being the city council liaison there. I did get to watch some of your meetings and, you know, you have shown immense leadership and I'm really proud of you. I have to say congratulations getting into UC Berkeley. I'm sure your parents must be really happy that you'll be close to home as well as at Berkeley. So great job. I think you guys really brought a lot of attention to Teen Council because we got what, 92 or 94 applications this year. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's apparently a lot of, you know, now people know about the Teen Council and want to serve on it. So I think you really did do a great job of getting word out there, getting involved. Just, you know, add on to what Mayor Clarkson said about the senior days. I think the partnership between the Teen Council and the, you know, senior committee has been really, you know, the great partnership, and you guys have really done a lot of stuff with the senior committee and the senior tech days, and you know, it's really heartening to, you know, heartwarming to see that partnership do so well. And yeah, you've packed even in, like, I would say half a year, because half of the year was gone to COVID. You guys really did a lot of great stuff, and this managing with your senior year, I know homework schedules and all of that. So really appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing there. And yeah, I think you're leaving a good legacy now behind for people to follow. So it's a good thing that most of the council will be intact and for the second year, and they'll be able to continue on and learn from what, you know, a lot of stuff that that you did the last 2 years. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And I think before you run, we're going to turn to the city clerk and see if we have any public comment that you should also hear if they have any.
Mm-hmm. We do. We have one request to speak, and then anyone else in the audience that would like to request to speak, please use the raise your hand button at this time. And the first speaker is Luz Gomez.
Good evening, everyone. This is Luz again. I just want to express how proud and amazed I am, Vanita, by the work that you and the Teen Council have been doing in San Ramon. It gives me great hope to know that the city will be in great hands in the future. As you were speaking and telling us about these amazing, wonderful programs that you guys have been implementing, it occurred to me that you guys might be interested in participating in some of the discussions that are now happening around diversity in San Ramon. Maybe there could be a liaison to the San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition, maybe, or you guys might want to consider doing some kind of training or discussion around race and equity and justice and bias, subconscious bias, things like that. It's a hot topic that I know young people are very, very passionate about. So I thought I would just drop that as a hint. And again, thank you and congratulations. Go Bears. I'm just so impressed. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Anybody else?
That was the only request to speak.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Have a safe and wonderful summer, and have fun next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 12.3, resolution number 2020-064, adopting the Santa Rosa Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan 2020-2030. Introduction by Kathy Hyman, Parks and Community Services Director, and presentation by Stephanie Grigsby, Design Workshop Principal.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It is my great pleasure to be here this evening to introduce the presentation of the Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan for your adoption and approval. This plan, as you know, has taken over 2 years to complete. We've had input from thousands, and I'm not exaggerating here, thousands of San Ramon residents via workshops, surveys, focus groups, pop-up feedback at events, along with many meetings with the Parks Commission, Open Space Advisory Committee, and you yourselves, the City Council. Throughout the process, the same theme came up time and again from people of all ages, from varying backgrounds, living in different neighborhoods with diverse interests and ideas. But there was a through line of some of the concepts that you're going to hear about tonight again. I believe truly that we have captured the primary concepts that the community wants to see developed in the next 10 years in San Ramon. However, that being said, it is a snapshot in time. And as with all things, and as we've seen how much the world changed in just 3 months, things may change as we move forward in the plan, and we will adapt and change with it. Staff will regularly be reviewing the plan and updating the plan, and then providing status updates to the Commission and Council via our budget and CIP process annually. It's a big plan. It has lots of big, great, exciting ideas, and we could not have created this plan without the help of Design Workshop. They did an exemplary job of really listening to what the community wanted, as well as staff's concerns. And then they framed everything into the plan that we could use every day to help chart the course of the future. The Public Works Department, don't want to leave them out here because they also provided a lot of detailed information and feedback that really improved the final document significantly. And it is a plan that reaches across the departments. So it's something that will be used by both Public Services and Parks and Community Services. And our Parks and Community Services Department also spent countless hours editing, talking to the community, setting up workshops, and gathering feedback to try and make the plan truly reflective of what San Ramon wants and needs for the next 10 years. Stephanie Grigsby, a principal with Design Workshop and the person who pulled all of our data together, is here this evening to present the primary points in the plan and to answer any questions you might have. So without any further ado, let's move on and let Stephanie give you the highlights. Stephanie? I think you're still muted, Stephanie, and your camera.
There we go.
Not on. Oh.
Sorry about that. How does that work?
Yep.
I show up.
Your background showed up, but you're not showed up.
Yeah,
yet.
that is very odd. I've never had that happen, actually.
You could just remove the background.
I'll just stop my video and just keep going. How about that?
Okay.
So thank you, Council, for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. As Kathy summarized, we're here tonight to be able to share some of the key elements of the plan and really describe how those how your comments have been incorporated, and then allow for some time for feedback, whether it's for recommendation for approval and adoption, or for approval with some revisions, or to be able to make some additional revisions and return for approval. As Kathy said, a Parks and Recreation Master Plan is really reflective of every community. There's national standards and state standards and regional guidelines that we look towards in terms of benchmarking, but we really want to listen and capture what this community actually needs and what we're hearing from the residents in terms of what they would like for your parks, trails, and open space system, because it's really there to be able to serve their needs. So as Kathy said, we started with a deep dive into discussions with a few focus groups to help frame the conversation about the opportunities and challenges, and then conducted a series of workshops, surveys, meetings with Parks and Community Services Commissions, with joint meetings with the city council to really refine and revise those ideas. And I have to, again, thank the city staff, Parks and Community Services staff, along with all the commissions and folks who really helped provide input into the plan and really shaped it and made it theirs. During those outreach efforts, we heard a lot. This slide really just captures a few of those ideas in terms of what we heard from the refinement process from our joint city council and Parks and Community Services meeting with you, and some of the refinements that we had made to the plan after that time. As mentioned, we had heard a lot about trails. We heard a lot about connectivity and open space, and really the need to provide amenities for an aging community. Some of the changes that we had made was really trying to put an emphasis on walking loops and connectivity, thinking about how we can work towards implementing the walking district master plan and enhancing the Iron Horse Trail. We also, in terms of thinking about the goals for open space, we provided a series of targets for open spaces, and then we revised the maps so that we didn't show just the city itself, but we looked at the context of the city in terms of the surrounding open spaces and trails, and how that network of open spaces really provided a resource for residents as well. We also heard about not just providing a plan and maintaining for what you have, but really thinking towards the future. One of our previous goals in the first iteration was quality over quantity. That theme had changed. We changed it in the final plan to be balanced quality and quantity, to really represent this idea of trying to understand what your needs are in terms of maintenance for the day-to-day, but also trying to lean into the future a little bit so that you can take advantage of the opportunities you have now to be able to plan for the residents that you'll have tomorrow. We also heard a lot about thinking about, again, what are the costs, what are the funding implications? So really trying to identify what those capital improvements and maintenance costs might be, providing estimates of those throughout the plan, along with a series of prioritization criteria that really help guide decision making. As Kathy said, there are things that will come up over time, so it's really important to understand how we can use this as a guide, but how it can also help shape some of that decision making and put a framework for the future. So what's in the plan? The plan is organized around a series of 4 themes, and within each theme there is a summary of that theme, what we're trying to achieve, a summary of the existing inventory and conditions, what we had heard from the community about that, and then also some of the regional and national trends that might be of interest. The first theme is interconnected. This theme really revolves around improving and expanding trails, thinking about how to remove barriers to connectivity and how to encourage walking and biking. It really builds upon the work that I think you heard summarized tonight in terms of the bicycle master plan and a lot of the other work that's moving forward. Thinking about how to really, again, create a network that allows people to experience the outdoors. The second theme is conserving and connecting residents to nature. This theme is really about balancing that stewardship of natural resources while also providing access to the outdoors, thinking about how we can acquire, preserve, and maintain some of the open spaces so that we have them both now, but also for future generations. We see open space really serving a variety of roles in cities, and especially in San Ramon, how they can provide space to the more unpaved trail system, and then also being able to connect people to nature, but it's also the visual benefit as well in terms of being able to have the views out towards the open spaces. We also, within the suite of connecting residents to nature, have a series of recommendations in terms of sustainable maintenance practices and thinking about how the city can continue to be a leader in terms of moving forward in your climate action plan. The next series of goals is about includes inclusiveness. So the category of inclusiveness really refers to being able to consider how parks and trails and open spaces and all of your facilities and programs really can be welcoming for everyone. As described in the plan, the city's demographic is aging and it's diversifying, and really trying to make sure that the city is forward thinking in terms of being able to adapt to those needs and trends. Within this category, we talk about park amenities that might promote wellness, the opportunity to utilize partnerships, and utilizing technology. I think this was one of the areas where our teen council member really helped to add in some ideas in terms of how we might be able to capture the use of technology to be able to really, again, engage people with parks in a different way. The final theme is balancing quality and quantity. And as I mentioned, this is really about trying to make sure we're looking forward to tomorrow's needs while also trying to make sure that we're really understanding what those maintenance needs are of today and will be tomorrow as well, so that we can maintain the quality of the parks as they are. The city has a wonderful park system, and we want to make sure that it continues to be able to maintain those facilities at the level that is expected. So within that series of goals, we talk about maintaining the existing service levels, adding amenities to park and distribution needs where they indicate. We had conducted a series of walkability analyses and then looked at where parks were located and how people were accessing parks and being able to understand where there might be needs based on those distributions. The opportunity to renew some facilities. We have a series of goals specifically regarding specific parks that might want to have some improvements, as well as being able to look forward in terms of thinking about accommodating sports field usage. Within this series of goals, we also talk about utilizing technology and then also increasing financial resources, again, to make sure that the quality of the parks are met as well. Throughout the process, we really recognize that this is a moment in time, and then that additional ideas would be shared moving forward. So we developed a series of criteria to really filter all the recommendations that were being developed within the plan, but also to be able to provide a tool that the city can use moving forward. So we have a set of 9 criteria that organize the projects that are within the plan into short-term projects, those projects that could be implemented within a 0 to 5 year time frame, midterm projects, which are 6 to 10 year projects, and then long-term projects, 11 to 20 years. But we also see that in many communities that new opportunities arise, and you'll continually have ideas being shared by the community members and residents, and you need to be able to have a system to be able to think through how you address those. So these criteria really talk about understanding what ideas really have the greatest impact for community needs, which projects have funding sources or can identify funding sources, what projects can fill a gap. So especially when you're thinking about trail systems, if there's that critical gap that if you fill that piece, that it can really help with the connectivity, being able to focus on those priorities. And then also understanding what the implications are in the long term. So understanding, do they have moderate to low maintenance and operations expenses, or is it a project that would really significantly increase the maintenance budget over time? And having that as part of the decision-making process and going in with eyes open if it is a project that is of importance to do so, understanding what those implications are. Understanding if it can improve the end of life usability of a facility, that it aligns with partners, and then also can really have a high return on investment. If it can address needs associated with growth and increased demand, or if it also provides multiple benefit. We see as those 9 criteria really being important through the use of this plan and in the future as you have new ideas brought before you. So how do you use the plan? I think the best way to really illustrate the organization of the document is to walk through it. So as you can see here in this diagram, the document is really, again, organized around those 4 themes. Within each of those themes, there's opportunities that have been identified for improvement. And within each of those opportunities, there's a series of action steps or projects and strategies that can then actually move you forward towards achieving those goals. And along with those action steps, there's a series of description as well as some examples too to help understand what's being identified and what's being discussed. So for example, within the inclusive theme, we described the opportunity for walking loops. That is nested in the opportunity 3.1, reflect and meet the needs of an aging diverse population. And 3.1a, as you can see here that's circled in red, talks about addressing the changing needs for park and recreation facilities. That ties into the action step of 3.1a-1, developing walking loops with non-slip surfaces and providing seating and shade. And within that document example, we have an example of how that can be achieved within the parks, along with an estimate of what the capital improvement budget implication might be, along with its priority and where it might fall in terms of a time frame for implementation. Those projects and recommendations are all then organized by time frame and by priority. So graphically, you see this within the walking loops recommendation being circled in red. It's identified as a high priority project in a short-term time frame. So in this next 0 to 5 years, as a project to be implemented. It's then teed up again in the document, and as well will be provided to the city in a working matrix form that you can actually use and track over time how the projects are being implemented. So each project has the action step, its priority, its time frame, the metrics, so how you can actually identify when you've achieved that goal, what the budget implications are, and then also what those operational implications are as well. So as you can think about over time, what you're adding on in terms of potential maintenance needs or operational needs for the city budget. So overall, there were 94 different projects that have been identified throughout the plan. 25 of those projects are actually items or practices that are layered into the daily operations of the Parks and Community Services Department. 29 of the projects are actually identified to be implemented in the next 0 to 5 years, so that in the short-term project range. 25 have been identified in that midterm project range, and then 15 are really long-term projects that are really aspirational projects that we'd love to get to, but recognize that there's funding limitations, and then also some partnering things that might need to be achieved to be able to actually work towards those as well. But overall, there's really 10 top opportunities that arose through the process, and that's represented in this diagram that I think we're excited about seeing how these move forward and how they can really, again, really move the city of San Ramon forward in terms of not only just being responsive to the parks and recreation needs, but also being proactive in meeting those needs for your residents. First on this list is the seating and shade along the Iron Horse Trail. We understand that this will require partnerships and cooperation, especially with the East Bay Regional Park Districts, and an understanding of what can be achieved. But really feel like we heard a lot from the community about how important this is to them. And we heard tonight again about the use of the Iron Horse Trail and how that could be utilized over time. Paved walking loops in parks. Again, really trying to get people outdoors. And I think as we've all seen over the past few months, that how important it has been not just to have access to parks, but to have places just to be able to walk and being able to provide those places that have non-slip surfaces and then also have seating opportunities too. The preservation of open space, providing biking and walking path connections. Again, this ties really into the bicycle master plan. Providing unpaved loop trails and open spaces. So again, working with your partners within those open space areas to understand the trail systems and how we might provide a variety of opportunities there and different experiences. The need for another cricket pitch, which is underway, the Iron Horse Trail overconnection at Bollinger Canyon, which again is a project that's underway, the lighted basketball court. We heard this through much of the public comments of the desire to have that amenity, which is again a project that has been looked at. Facility renovations for some of your recreation facilities themselves. And then also thinking about opportunities to provide nature-based play equipment and programming. So not just the standard parks playground equipment, but thinking about other equipment that can really engage people. We heard a lot about the desire to connect the park with the landscape and that real experience. And there's a lot of really interesting equipment and facilities out there that I think as the city continues to move forward, you'll be able to take advantage of as well. And again, really, in closing, I just wanted to thank Kathy and her staff. I couldn't imagine anyone better to work with over the last year and a half. Her team has been really helpful and responsive whenever we needed anything. They were right there for us, answering questions and providing us help. And really great to see them in action as they helped us with all of the outreach efforts as well. I think nobody does it better than Parks, and her team definitely showed that. So with that, I will open it up for questions and comments.
Great. Thank you very much. I see a hand up with Mr. Perkins.
You're muted, Councilmember Perkins.
You're muted, Scott.
There we go. I lowered my hand instead of unmuting. Silly me. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Earlier I read through the plan and very impressed. I'm very grateful to see that it has the summary sections in the back where you summarize the actual actions. That will be very helpful in working on our CIP in the future. And I've asked Kathy to make sure that when we look at the CIP, that we include which one of those items in the CIP as the CIP text and narrative comes through, that we're actually checking some of these boxes. One of the things that I think was really important to start with was when we renamed it the Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan. We recognize that the trails and open space are a vital part of why people come and live here. We've been renowned for years on the quality of our parks, but the people who live here recognize that the city is far more than those parks. It is the trails and the open space. And that came out time and time again through your surveys and the requests for help. I have to smile because one of the first things that I asked Herb Moniz to work on was trees on the Iron Horse Trail. I know Dave Hudson is a fan of that, and I know Sabina is. But I want to remind you that as we put trees on the Iron Horse Trail and we work on that, please, please, please put them on the west side of the trail. The sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. That's not going to change. And so if you put trees on the east side, they will cast in the afternoon, anytime after 11 or 12 o'clock, they'll cast a shadow that goes east. And shade off the trail is of little value. So putting trees on the west side of the trail will add great value. I talked with Seth Adams about this a while back. He and I took a walk down the Iron Horse Trail, and he reminded me that there was a group, and I can't remember the city, that where the citizens took over planting and watering the trees. They didn't actually install a water system, but the citizens took over watering the trees until they were established. If you do a good job of selecting trees, the right kinds that are more drought resistant, you can do that. You can plant the trees, water them for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they will establish themselves and be fine for years to come. So I hope we can do that. I really like the idea of adding loops to trails. I'm a hiker. I've been hiking for decades. I hiked the John Muir Trail a few years ago from end to end. That's not a loop, I know, but I know that when I like to go by myself or within small groups, a loop makes a big difference. And so where we can take little stubby things and add them to each other and create loops, that's a real plus. Overall, I think it's a fabulous plan. The few corrections that I asked for last year sometime have all been added, and I thank you again. Fabulous job. Kathy and Stephanie and all the other team, you all deserve a great, our admiration for the hard work you did. Thank you.
You're muted, Bill.
Dave, I called on you. You're supposed to read my mind, sir.
I can't see you. Yeah, I think the name of that community was Walden. It might be near Pleasant Hill. It was very close to the former CCTA headquarters. The problem in a nutshell is there are so many lines underground. I don't think anybody ever knows where they're. Kinder Morgan's working on one right now if you want to go down to Al Costa. Otherwise, we would have had these trees up years ago. I don't share the enthusiasm Mr. Perkins has. And I made some comments to Kathy Heidman, so I'm not going to pursue it much further, but I would just tell you, I know that I made a point at a council meeting where we looked at this to tell our consultants they need to look at these golf courses, or at least how they are addressed, because they are considered open space. two comments I would have, there's only two golf courses mentioned in this report. One's Canyon Lakes and the other's disc golf. You probably should look, I think it's page 253, define and measure the city's open space and trail system. And when it gets into defining what it is, at least mention this in here, because it is a very clear message from our first general plan that this should be considered open space permanently. But there's enough in there that I think we can reference it and other things that's as far as I'm gonna see. I will be brief.
Sabina.
All right, so I certainly do share the enthusiasm for the shade and seating along the Iron Horse Trail. And I think now we've been discovering our trails and walking paths and, hiking around San Ramon even more. So we were almost kind of built for COVID, for people to be able to get out and enjoy our open space and parks. Really appreciate that. I like the top 10 opportunities. When it comes to inclusion, even the report mentions that the median age in San Ramon is 38. So I would like to bring attention to that. I know I've talked to Kathy and shared lots of books with her. I discovered in the last year about these gyms for grown-ups or adults. And if you think about it, the kids are playing in the park and their parents are generally within that age group. So I would love for us to look at that and think about, adding these adult gyms as part of our parks, because after a certain age, it's kind of almost a cutoff age from the parks. You don't see the teenagers going back, to the parks. You don't see the parents are there because they're watching the kids, but it would be great to give them the opportunity as well to be able to work out. And I think with the new way of doing things, I don't know how many people will be comfortable going back to a closed gym anyways. Certainly, I think keeping in mind inclusion and the median age of the city, it would be good to have, and focus on some of those adult equipments in the parks as well. So thank you, appreciate it.
Phil.
First of all, I thought this was a very thorough and inclusive process. I appreciated that. I sat in on some of the open space advisory committee work, and clearly their views are woven throughout this. I really like the notion of the context for open space, especially when you're talking about a long-term plan. I think the nature-based play equipment is a fun idea. And one thing I'm curious about is there is regularly notions about how you vet ideas and move forward, but there's rarely a process for how you sunset things. And what comes to mind is where I grew up, it was I think it was called platform tennis or something like that. It was big for a while in the 70s, and I doubt those exist anymore. But I would be curious, because that process, there's things you need to keep an eye on as trends come and go that I think are probably important just in the future. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the master plan. And just one other thing, there's a thematic thing going on in this country with us, with the community, et cetera. We aren't going to be living with COVID-19 forever. It will eventually be gone. And God willing, this plan will outlast it by an extended period of time. And I'm seeing it getting woven into architectural ideas and all that, which I frankly think seems a bit over the top. And I'm also just, as a parent who's now has adult children, I am really pleased to see how they have graduated from those little playgrounds to the bigger stuff, to not thinking the park is cool, to hiking in open space. They're actually going back and hanging out in the park again. So, maybe it does all come full circle. So thanks for all this work on this, Kathy. I know you put your heart into this a great deal, and I'm really encouraged by what I see. So thank you.
I'd like to reach out through Kathy and directly to the Parks Commission. The Parks Commission has spent 2 years on this, Kathy? Is that 2 years on this? And they have really a lot of meetings, public workshops, the whole team, your chair, Don Birnbaum. A big shout out to everybody on the Parks Commission for what they did to develop, I think, a really great, very comprehensive document. So thank you, Don. Thank you, everybody on the Parks Commission for your leadership. And I'd like to, at this stage, go to public comment before we wrap this up with any additional questions and comments by council members. So do we have public comment?
Yes, we do have a couple requests to speak. And again, for anyone else in the audience, please use the raise your hand button at this time. The first speaker is Partha Mitra.
He's on mute. Partha, yeah, thank you.
Hello?
Okay, you're off mute.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hello and good evening, Mayor Clarkson, City Council members, Kathy, other city officials, and everybody else. My name is Partha Mitra, and I'm really happy San Ramon City residents for 8 years with my wife and 2 daughters. A little bit of myself, I and few others have started a new nonprofit organizations, Agumoni, few years back, as well as I am a member of City Art Advisory Committee, San Ramon Diversity Coalition, and past member for the library committee. So I actually going through this plan for some time now, and I was very interested. I was part of some of the focus groups almost a year and a half back. So since then, I wanted to see how it evolves. So here it is. So while going through the current San Ramon Park Trail and open space recreation master plan, I must appreciate the thoroughness and detailed plan. So really, this is an amazing. This is not just a volume. This is the size and thoroughness on that. And I can only imagine how much effort, planning, and hard work have gone through to do this research and completing the plan. Personally, I attended a couple of focus groups, and sometime back, and impressed with the planning to have those focus groups as well. I'm also happy to see some of the feedbacks that were collected during our Durga Puja event in the Central Park, and other community events have been looked into and given proper importance, especially in this changing demography of our city and more culturally diversifying and aging community. Considering strong cultural diverse recreational demand like cricket pitches will strengthen our city's unity in diversity. This gives me confidence that this master plan will be generally very well accepted among the residents of the San Ramon City. The 4 driving principle that I was really interested to know more details, and thanks for the explanations today, is those interconnected conservations, inclusiveness, and balance between quality and quantity that are the driving force of this plan. And this is very well thought of and very well tells the story of our city. Finally, I would like to congratulate everybody involved to make this master plan a reality, especially design workshop folks, city officials, city PCS staff and commissions, open space committee, and city councils to present us with this master plan. And I really feel confident that will make our city more beautiful and add more value to our quality of our outdoor life. And that in terms will make our city even more attractive location to live and move in for other folks from outside. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next comment is from Jim Blickenstaff.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can, Jim.
Oh, great. Just very briefly, I wanted to reiterate some comments I've made a few months ago on the master plan for parks and open space. It's good in what it addresses. It emphasizes quality and mentions quantity, but I don't think there's a balance there. And for the good job that's done on enhancing quality, I think just as important, probably more important, is quantity as it refers to acquisition and keeping pace with growth demands. One of your criteria is to address growth demands in terms of their effects on parks. And I think that's critical to emphasize. To the extent it wasn't emphasized as much as it could be in this master plan is a disappointment to me. And I'd like to have the city understand that that's going to be a critical need going forward. If it's not emphasized in this plan, at least in efforts in the future, because lack of parks, like in District 1, for example, has a direct effect on quality of life. And it needs to be addressed. As planning goes forward, I see in some of the plans, we're still deficient in the parks that are going to be needed from the population demands. So let's keep that on the top of the list of things we're going to have to look at in the future to maintain our quality of life, and prioritize acquisition as much as we prioritize enhancing quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments or written comments?
We have no additional requests to speak.
Any written comments?
I did not receive any written comments for this item.
Great. I will close the public comment. Having heard from the public, any additional comments or questions we have for Kathy, the consultant, or I think Don Birnbaum might be in the audience for the park commissioners.
I'd like to move resolution 2020-064 adopting the San Ramon Parks, Trails, Open Space and Recreation Master Plan 2020 through 2030.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing no additional discussion, Madam Clerk, can you conduct a roll call vote?
Of course. Councilmember Hudson?
Abstain.
Councilmember Alone?
Aye.
Councilmember Perkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Safar?
Yes.
And Mayor Clarkson?
Aye.
The motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Hudson abstaining.
Great. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Item 13, city manager comments.
Good evening, council. I'll keep my comments brief. I know I'm usually talkative. However, I would like to bring to note that our regional housing needs assessment is underway for the Bay Area. It looks like those housing needs are going to at least double. So they're currently working on the criteria, but I'm just giving you a foreshadow of some of the conversations we're going to need to have in the pretty near future. Myself and the mayor was there, and Chief Stevens met with the San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition on Monday night. I thought it was a productive conversation and meeting. Myself and Kathy, the Parks and Community Services Director, as well as members of the police department, attend those meetings. Chief Stevens gave a presentation to the coalition, answered some questions, and is going to be working with the San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition to continue the conversation and look for opportunities to move forward in today's current issues around race and police brutality and all the issues that are plaguing the nation as we speak. So I'm happy to hear about that and see that. So I'm excited that these meetings will continue to take place. And Chief Stevens has also, which I thought was excellent, garnered the participation not only with Danville PD Chief Shields, but also with the Chief of Dublin Police Department, which allows for that conversation to be a regional discussion, and hopefully solutions regionally for the San Ramon Valley will develop as these groups meet. On a side note, the Doherty Valley Pool was open for lap swim, which we were pretty excited about. I know we have a large group in our community that love to swim. There was little over 500 or so slots. Those slots filled within 2 hours. So we had to open up an additional 500 slots or so in general to double it, and just to meet the need. So there's a lot of excitement about these pools that are opening up. Staff tells me that there's been a couple thousand clicks on the web page for this, most of them unique clicks. And so there's a lot of excitement. Our parks programs, camp parks programs are also being received with equal enthusiasm. We have many safety measures in place, and thus far they've been very, very successful. So we're excited to be able to offer some of these outlets, these stress relieving outlets to our community, and we look forward to doing more as the health order permits. That is it for me.
Thank you, Joe. Madam Clerk.
Item 14, public comment.
Second public comment for those who have not yet spoken to public comment. Anybody raise their hand to speak public comment?
It does not appear we have any requests to speak for this item.
Okay, we will close public comment. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item 15, city council members and mayor's comments.
I'll start the screen with Phil and go around at least my screen.
Thanks, Bill. One comment I would have as it relates to the COVID-19, I would just like to thank our community for approaching this with a great deal of common sense as it relates to simple things like masking and social distancing. And it's not the case everywhere. There's active resistance to it in some communities, and I'm glad ours isn't one of those. And perhaps that's one of the reasons that, besides the fact that we live a ways apart from each other in good-sized homes, that people are actually, our rate of infections pretty low by the measures that I've seen so far. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Sabina.
I thought we'll let everybody else go before I went and you went. Do we want to have Scott and Dave go first?
Oh, sure. If you would like to wait, Scott, you want to go next?
Sure. This last week, I attended the East Bay Regional Communications System Authority board meeting. That's the radio system for Alameda and Contra Costa County first responders and fire and police. We passed our budget. Our revenues are expected to be 7.9 million. Our expenses, 7.1 million, including 2 million of capital expenses, for a net income of roughly 800,000. We have an operating reserve of 2.2 million, a debt service reserve of 1 million, and a capital reserve of 10.6 million. So we're in pretty good shape. We've asked the director to conduct and create a capital equipment replacement program. Since eBricks is very capital intensive, we need to make sure that 13 million will be adequate for replacing equipment as we go along without substantial increases in user fees. I'm expecting we're probably gonna have to raise user fees to finance our capital replacement, but I'm hoping we can do that in such a way that it isn't a shock to the system, that we do it in small increments going forward. Also attended the Tri-Valley Transportation Council board meeting. It was a special meeting. When we passed our Tri-Valley Transportation Development Fee resolution a month ago, there was a mistake in the resolution that we needed to correct in the development fee for retail. And we also authorized a letter supporting Valley Link. You hear that, Phil? Supporting Valley Link and ACE to MTC. So that's coming from TVTC to MTC, supporting Valley Link and ACE. Those are the systems. Valley Link's the future, ACE is today, supporting people that are coming from the valley through the Livermore Valley to the Santa Clara Valley and Silicon Valley. So that's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, you're up.
I'm sorry for laughing, Scott, but TVTC that has Scott Haggerty on it sent a letter to MTC, who's chaired by Scott Haggerty. I'm sure he probably signed both of them. And there's no bigger advocate. I don't want to make light of it.
Voted yes.
And voted yes. The chief's point about ABAG, unfortunately, I got that information a week ago when we had our ABAG meeting, and we got to listen to people discuss it. What has me concerned even more is a lot of groups and a lot of people are changing their discussions from the previous RHNA cycle, saying build housing. And I know our legislators are listening to this. They're getting fed up with homelessness and the cost of housing. And there is a subgroup. Fortunately, I am not on it. I do not want to be at those meetings. But Julie Pierce will be Contra Costa County. We'll see if that goes. Very interested in this diversity group. I'm glad to see your meeting. I'm a little concerned in that how do you get to these meetings if they're not city meetings and people want to attend or hear what's going on or participate. This is not a city group. We didn't pick names. This is something else, but things have changed since the last couple months, and there are people that are watching what we're doing. So I'm hoping that if we don't have a say on who gets on it, that we do have a say on how things are announced and how people can tune in and see what's going on. Last, I brought it up a couple times. I'm telling you, it's coming. I hope we can get ahead of this and get a hold of a group or some literature for GARE, because it's going to be mandatory that we take classes on diversity. And GARE is the best outfit that I've seen, been through a couple of them. All of the regional committees are doing this. So that's my 2 cents for the night. I have a ABAG meeting Thursday, and I'm going to be listening to the RHNA numbers. And I hope that you're wrong, city manager, but I'm afraid that the number might be even higher. So we'll see where it goes, and I'll report back at the next meeting.
Sabina.
Thank you. So I was actually also fly on the wall in that diversity coalition meeting. I did want to hear, what the conversations were. And I was very, very happy with how open that discussion was, how, some young folks were brought in as well, who are very much in touch with what's going on and are being very vocal about it. So, it was really good to hear the discussions, people being very open about how they felt about it. Chief Stevens, I really appreciate him really listening and embracing the change that's happening and really talking about how he's rethinking about his department is going to be doing things. So it was a certainly great meeting. One name, if you guys haven't heard, I would like to mention is Tiana Day. She is a young woman from San Ramon, from our high schools, and she has gotten recognition across the Bay Area for organizing the Black Lives Movement protests, as well as bringing attention to it. She spoke in San Ramon as well, and she also organized a very large protest in San Francisco. So she is really being looked at as somebody to follow. A lot of our young people are following her. A lot of, she's been in the media and everything as well. So certainly somebody we can tap into and help, kind of understand as we're having these conversations. So the first part is recognizing and having the conversation, and I'm really glad we've been very open about this. So appreciate that, Bill, for you putting that coalition together, and Joe for including me as well. The other thing I wanted to probably ask for next time, and I talked to Stephen about it, but there has been so much outreach and engagement from our website, from our social media. And I would really love to see the numbers in terms of how, what kind of engagement has that been. I know one of our council goals was to increase communication, and Joe, you really took that to heart. And, at least my perception is, and I would love some data and numbers to map that, is that we have really done a great job of communicating through every possible channel in every way, whether it's email, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Nextdoor, which is speaking to different groups that are engaging with us. So, and including, paper mail and all of that. So I would love to see, what our engagements have been, what that looked like, because we really should bring attention to the communication that has happened. I mean, there was a time when Stephen was spinning up web pages on a daily basis as things were happening. And so I would love to see those numbers and how we did that. And if you guys haven't traveled out of town, you might be interested in making sure that you stay in the right 680 lane from Bollinger Canyon, because if you miss it, you can't be a bad citizen now and merge onto 680 North, because, it is really the new lanes that are in place have kind of put guardrails, if you will, around the bad behavior, which some people were seeing. Somebody would just cut in front of you on 680 North. So you can't really do that anymore. So if you miss that lane and that turning, and there's signage all the way starting from almost, I would say, Camino Ramon, where it leads you into this is 680 North, this is 680 South, so stay in your lane. So just wanted to make sure, as people are starting to get back on the road, they're looking out for these lanes. Yeah, other than that, nothing else on my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina.
So could I interject
please.
a comment, if you don't mind? First of all, thanks for your comments, Sabina, about the participation and all that. I had asked about, I know that Joe and the chief had talked about some of the loops that the police attempt to do in San Ramon as it relates to social services and mental health commitments and those sorts of things, and ask for some further reporting on all that, because I think it'd be important for the public to know. We've certainly, we regularly see the chief's reports and these commitments and everything else, and perhaps it's, I don't know if there's a true uptick, but it kind of feels like it. And, but also, it's interesting to me how, and I please don't take this as a dump on the eBricks program at all, but it's an established program. It's funded. It has to do with first responders and communication in case of emergencies. And the discussion is to ensure that's always funded. But the discussion is rarely about mental health funding and social services funding. And I think that's fundamentally one of the basic issues that the larger community has about how we approach issues. And it popped into my head. There it is, right? Oh, well, we may have to raise our rates. And that discussion never takes place about, oh, we may have to give the Discovery Counseling Center more money or something like that. Those discussions don't take place. And I think that's actually what people mean when they're talking about getting more engaged in terms of how our society approaches public problems. So just a discussion point, and I would like to hear more about how that closed the loop and engagement with the police and the 5150s. And Joe, you had talked about in the past recently about a police officer and a mental health worker needing to go together often for risk reduction reasons. And I'd be curious to hear more about that in the future. doesn't need to happen next council meeting, but further discussion about that I think would be important as we attempt to unpack more of this. Thanks, Bill.
Well, thank you, Phil. Because of the Brown Act, I'm not going to follow up on your comments. Aside to say that you have school districts, fire districts, you have the county, you have the city, you have these 4 different agencies, and they all have distinct responsibilities and things that they do. And it's interesting if you begin to blur the lines, how that can impact each agency's budget one way or another. So it would be a good conversation for clarity because, again, I'm being very sensitive, Mr. Martin, not to cross any Brown Act conversations, but it would be a good conversation in general. Last Friday, we had a mayor's breakfast. I invited, aside from our city manager, who always comes to these, thank you, Joe, for being there every Friday morning. We had our police chief. We also had members of the coalition come to this meeting, and they had a really good conversation. And what I took away from that was the cooperativeness of the folks on the coalition being really not confrontational, but having really good ideas about what they're thinking and what's going on. And hats off to Chief Stevens, who has over these last 2 or 3 months shared both personal videos, but also comments and statements. And I think he has been a very calming effect in our community because I think people appreciate that he's listening and hearing, and he is actively engaged in responding to a lot of the comments. At the Diversity Committee meeting on Monday, he was there again, even though he's on vacation, but because of Zoom, he could Zoom into the meeting and continue that engagement with that group. Again, that is not a city committee. It's run by a group of citizens who have actively put out and advertised what the meeting's about and to get as many folks involved as possible. In fact, that meeting had in excess of 50 people there. That was probably their biggest collection of people. This Friday, we're going to focus back on COVID. We're going to bring back, again, for an encore presentation, our Dr. Joseph, who will continue his presentations. I think he's become a real superstar. And thank you to the city for creating snippets of his presentations and putting those out. Sabina, putting them out on our social media for people to get a hold of and look at. Candace Anderson, of course, will be there to talk about the newest county rules that are coming out. And it looks like we'll have somebody from the business community who's very involved in helping restaurants and retailers and other businesses get going and working with them with their facilities to be able to meet these rules and be open for business and for us to understand what challenges they're having. And for us, from my point of view, how we can help our local businesses. Because I know our restaurants, we want them all to survive. We want all of our businesses to come out of this as intact. And so we'll probably hear from a group and we'll talk about their challenges and what they're doing to make it as accessible as they can within the rules for the rest of us to enjoy. So Friday should be another good conversation. That's all I had. Madam Clerk.
Item 16, adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's stick around.
All those in favor signify by clicking.